second. We're waiting on Dr. Lopez now. Oh, just a moment, please. We have to wait for Dr. Lopez because he was going to do the introductions. What the heck? What can I say? It's summer. So we're streaming. I'll put the link to the YouTube channel too. There's a lot of beautiful interviews on there. Well, never mind. I guess I'll do that later. But you can just look up Radical Books and Activists. And I see that Professor Del Toro is here. Welcome. Maurice is a friend of yours? Oh, welcome, Maurice. I see. Or Nicole Braum. I had no idea who that is, but it looks like people are slowly coming in. So I'm excited because this is the first time we're having an in-person event. Right, Lynn? Oh, yeah, everything else has been via Zoom, so this is beautiful. Second, I don't remember what I'm sure it was awesome. Maybe this is the second, but it's nice to be able to do this hybrid because I have some other people coming in the fall. And so it's just going to be fantastic to be able to have people from other parts of the country and other parts of the world, and also have our Washington community here present. So, hey, Michael, welcome. Everybody, the wonderful Michael War is here. You get to know him a little better. We're just waiting a little bit on Tango. He's running just a little bit late, and we're not waiting for our college president. So yeah, the director's calling him right now. How's everybody doing? You're welcome to unmute. You're welcome to say a little bit about yourself if you want, since we got time. I'm Dr. Jesus Estrada. I teach creative writing, composition. I've been here for a long time, like a long time. And you're not going to be able to see my students who are currently practicing snapping for the poets. We got a nice little audience going here, a nice little hybrid audience. Thank you, Dolores. Good to see everybody.
Jesu, thank you for putting this together, and thank you for allowing us to come in who can't make it to campus.
You know what? Great. I dig it. Let me tell you what's coming up, because I'm just excited. You don't know who Paul Tremblay is? Paul Tremblay wrote The Last Cabin at the End of the World, and he's coming in the fall. It's going to be a big deal. I may have to crowdfund, but you know, it'll happen. I got Adam Gottlieb and some hip hop artists coming to talk about the connection between music and poetry. And, you know, I'm trying to bring somebody once a month. And it's not always cultural. I think cultural work is very important. I really want to do an environmental panel in the future on global warming, given what's going on with the weather, a panel on immigration, things like that. So if y'all have suggestions on programs you'd like to see, I'm open to suggestions. Yes. Oh, very good. Is he joined now? Oh, my apologies. All right. Well, welcome. Pásale, mijo. Siéntate. All right, everybody. So we're going to get started. We are streaming again, and my students are we're going to get started, Sam. We're going to get started, Caleb. We're going to get started. Yeah, much in late. We're going to get started. Anyway, I'll get to you. My joke has been ribbon bee about my Ray, my professor ratings. I'm like, you be quiet, son. He is here today doing the beautiful refreshments. And so this is fantastic. And I never reflect upon what a traumatic experience we had with COVID, but how wonderful it is that we have all these ways of connecting with one another using this technology. And so it's beautiful because we have people in Idaho right now. Misa, where you at? You're in Nevada or you Washington State?
I'm in Las Vegas.
In Vegas, brother. Win some for me. And so this is wonderful. But we have our wonderful Dr. Lopez, who is an alum of Harold Washington College, named after the greatest mayor of all time, Harold Washington. And he's going to introduce the speakers. And we are live streaming again. So if you want to change your name, change your camera icon, you're welcome to. So take it away, Dr. Lopez. It's beautiful to see you today.
Good morning. I was about to just walk down there, Jesus, but I guess I'll do it here for the sake of time here. So good morning, everyone. It is really a joy to see you here. And Dr. Estrada always does such a great job engaging the college and students and bringing some wonderful speakers to this event. So thank you, Dr. Estrada, for doing this for the college, for our students. It's a great opportunity to connect all of us in this really great work. And so thank you for inviting me. And so I'll stay here and then maybe I can join you once I do the introductions. I'm going to start with, let's see, we have a few people, right, that will be presenting today. Is there any order? Or should I just
But he's
follow?
running a little late. He's caught in traffic. So if you want to go Damiana, then Misael, then Eric, and end with Tango, hopefully he'll be here by then.
Okay. All right. All right. Wonderful. So let me start with Misael then. So Misael Juarez creates rhyme structures and stanzas to convey revolutionary dreams by spending time to live experiences such as schizophrenia and psychosis. Misael has learned to create a balance between and the otherworldly in today's socioeconomic reality. He represents a rare minority in literature, and he has grown up in a graffiti and gang culture. He was raised by a single mother and was the third born of 8 siblings. Misael joined in English majored in English at California State University of Los Angeles. Though he never finished his degree, he kept on writing and transferring his work onto the page. So that is Misael. Jesus, I don't know if I have the rest of the bios.
I sent them late last night, but I can say, or hold on a second.
Here, no, I have him. I found them now.
Okay, good.
Okay, Damiana Andonova. Damiana Andonova is a Bulgarian-American female poet and social justice warrior princess, former consulting and data whiz, and self-conscious free spirit. She holds a Bachelor's of Science in Health Science, Society and Policy, and a Master's in Health Administration from George Washington University. Her work has previously appeared in the Right City Magazine, Right City Review, the Stanford Medicine's, the Pegasus Review, and others. She's a member of the Youth Poetica poetry performance group in Chicago, and her first poetry collection entitled Black Holes and Gypsy Hearts Are Forever is forthcoming this summer. She's now lives in Chicago with her Bernese mountain dog, Burles, tending gardens, writing, and helping moms and babies everywhere. That is Damiana. And then Eric Allen Yankee doesn't subscribe to rules, deadlines, or status quo. He is a member of the Chicago chapter of the Revolutionary Poets Brigade, and he is a published poet. And last but not least, I will go ahead and introduce Togo Eisen-Martin. Is a poet and activist. He is the current Poet Laureate of San Francisco, California. Eisen-Martin's 2017 book, Heaven is All Goodbyes, published by City Lights, won a PEN Oakland Award, the 2018 American Book Award, the 2018 California Book Award, and the 2018 National California Booksellers Association Poetry Book of the Year. His 2020 title, Blood on the Fog, published by City Light, was named a Best Poetry Book of 2021 by Elisa Gabbard of the New York Times. So as you can see, we have such a wonderful esteemed colleagues who are here to enlighten us with their poetry and their work. So I'll turn it over now to Professor Estrada.
Thank you, Dr. Lopez. All right, well, on stack is Damiana. Let's give her a huge welcome. Oh. Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right, perfect. I'm so happy to be here, you guys. Thank you so much for inviting me, Dr. Juarez. Sorry, Dr. Estrada. I was just thinking about something else. Sorry about that, Dr. Estrada.
It's all good. I don't even like the title. Call me Hesse.
Yes, thank you, Hesse. I think that I want to read a few poems from my poetry collection, also some poems that have not yet been published. And I want to wrap up with this really funny poem called To Balenciaga, which is a collaboration with Eric Allen Yankee, who will also speak today. So I think it'll be really fun to kind of end with that one. Is anyone coming? Okay. All right. So the first one is called The Physics of Literature. Literature is the dot product of the forces of its creation, the work done by the mind times the work done by the body in translating the electrical signal to hand movement, producing a letter. The work done by countless writers before me. Literature as a force itself. Literature as pent-up energy, anxiety, frustration. Literature as potential and only potential until someone does the work to publish it and someone else does the work to read it, so that potential becomes kinetic, moving readers, propagating potential for generations to come. Literary potential is never created or destroyed. It is only recycled, for writers are in their work, and one work cycles into the next, and so forth. It is the failure of the writer to move the reader that creates disorder. Tangible disorder, a disorder you can feel physically in your body, in your mind, until the writer writes something that moves masses, bringing them together politically, socially, geographically, tearing down walls, ideologies, and country borders. The physics of literature are immutable as the physical laws. So that's a poem that I wrote some time ago. Thank you. This is called The Forging of the Iron-Hearted, and I think it really is very near and dear to my heart, and it is part of the poetry collection that's going to be available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, and also I think your professor will provide some copies to you as well. I know what it's like to be pushed into the fire. I know what it's like to come out not burned, scalded, but forged. I know what happens when the fire chases you into the unknown and you find yourself in the thick of the forest, bright fire behind you, smoke above you, and nothing but darkness ahead. Sometimes when you find yourself running away from the fire, you wonder, maybe the fire isn't as bad as you remember. When your feet bleed of running, when you're trying your best, but you can't catch your breath, you wonder if the fire's warm embrace can soothe the ache in your legs and calm your soul. This must be what passes through the mind of a victim. But you don't want to be a victim. The fire is familiar. It's the choice between a pain you know and the fear of what you don't. I hope the fire has forged you enough to withstand the pain of running, to let your legs take you places when your mind has given up, to chase the fantasy of love everlasting so your heart can keep beating. And I hope someday the cool ground beneath your feet and the smell of pine in your lungs overpower your memories and dreams to remind you, you've outrun the fire. You can slow down, catch your breath, and let love in through the cracks of your iron heart. Thank you. Thanks. Let's see which other one I want to read. All right, let's see. I think it might be time, do we have time for more? Or should we go ahead and do the one with Eric?
You have time, but I'm okay however you feel comfortable. If you and Eric want to perform yours together.
Okay. Eric, are you available? Are you there? Okay.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, without the mic.
All right. So Eric, we're gonna, I guess, perform this together. And do you want me to stand up for this one? Okay. Oh, perfect. Okay, great. All right, Eric, let's do this. Let me tell you a little bit about To Balenciaga, however, because it's so interesting. I love and adore Eric Allen Yankee. He is he is a mentor. He is such a free spirit and so committed to his work. And when we hang out together, whether it is to edit my poetry or to talk about politics, it really is such a joy and such a gift. So the way this poem came about was quite funny. We were in Andersonville at Kopi Cafe, sitting outside sharing a lemon bar and coffee. And all of a sudden, this butterfly landed on my lemon bar. And well, here's the story because it's hilarious. The name of the poem is called To Balenciaga. Like the lingering smell of water damage,
capitalism seeps through the life and minds of us everyday folk.
The spy monarch butterfly lands on the lemon bar, interrupting talk of conspiracies.
The waiter assures us that butterflies are the cleanest insect, and we continue to wonder what happened to Tesla's files.
Is it all a cover-up? The Canadian fires, COVID, the Titanic, the crazy lady on the plane?
Is it all related, we ask, and laugh uncomfortably as we stare at the butterfly's antennas?
We know nothing.
But we do know that birds might not be real.
We've been high on cherry juice and nicotine patches.
Wondering if we have doubt or if it's all these 5G frequencies invading our brains.
Should we wear tinfoil hats or are they too Balenciaga?
Nothing is real.
Did the aliens build the pyramids? Are they our father?
What's it to us to know the truth?
If we can't breathe from the smog while the billionaires measure their penis rocket ships from Mars. The butterfly, there you go. The end. Thank you guys. That was so fun.
Yes.
Thank you. So
Thanks.
I'm cool however you want to roll this. If you want to keep performing or ask questions between, it's up to you. Otherwise, Misael, are you ready?
You guys have any questions, comments, thoughts? Okay.
They're thinking, welcome. And I did say earlier before Dr. Lopez, there will be book giveaways. Go ahead and sign up. Oh, you know what? I forgot to put the form. This is a beautiful experiment of technology and hybridity. And so if you would like to participate in future events, whether it's bringing the fantastic poets and writers that I've talked about or political events, I'm going to be, sign up. But if you want to have a book, I do have copies of all of their books, maybe not for everybody, but besides My Spoken Word Wife, I have books by Tango and I have books by Eric Allen Yankee. You're going to have to pick them up in room 612 in the English department office next week. But I'm super excited. I know I'm going to say it again. Paul Tremblay. I'm just kidding. I'm hoping to bring Paul Tremblay in the fall. Big deal. But Misael, my brother, are you ready to rock? I'm going to pin you and I'm pinning everybody else.
Yeah, I'm
Not
right here.
but technologically, obviously.
I was
All right.
born ready, hit the ground running.
You sure were. Hey, man, I said something a little bit about my brother Misael. He is one of his debut poetry book that came out recently really does a beautiful job of fusing rhymes and hip hop. He'll talk more about it. But my creative writing students, Misael, have questions about how you created those rhymes. So, no question is too dumb. No question is too basic. Anything you want to learn from these scholars, and of course, the connection between poetry and revolution and change, please bring it. Hit it, Misael.
I slang rhymes like a street mystic, make cash and bounce. Say things without saying it, honoring my crown. Lifting spirits up with DJs in the chrome mic, but I sing of a sweet woman who is wise. She works hard and pays taxes like everyone else. Understanding wealthy folks keep most of their wealth. She questions why the poor pay more taxes to live. The rich get tax breaks and special federal lives. She's a pretty face MC, but talks like she's wild. Above the law when judges break oaths on Bibles. Studying arguments for social policies. She has a movement backing up her poetry. When the powers that be persecute her with spite, she fights with coherent ideas that are bright, moving conversations with the rhythm and beat, focusing everyone with all of her dignity. Economies are a social construct of man. Only caring people can make us understand that our society needs leaders with good hearts. It takes people to recognize good folk to start. She rolls her R's like dice mixed with sugar and spice. Poetry is a tax on political lies. She's the IRS of truth to be spoken soft. Every time I get rowdy, she says, add more love. If she's a clear path, it's because she's protected. Only her faith tells us how to comprehend it. Some women are never found in the car shuffle, lost while car players wait for them to go hustle. Taking remains of a tree to make arts and crafts, nothing can go to waste. Things must be loved to last. People kill for meat, forgetting everything else. Seeing we're in trouble if we focus on wealth. Yeah, that was it. Yo, more? You got more? I got
Heck
more.
yeah. You got like 10 minutes or more.
Oh, oh man, I got plenty more. I have to read the whole book. I can't read 10 minutes. All right. It's an economic situation that's tough. And it's the right time to say, I love her so much. The brainiac dealing with a maniac alert. Ghetto girls will fall back too if it weren't for her. She's thinking of money making because there's a need. Using high-tech machinery, she never sleeps. Creating the future with computer keyboards. Playing in the league using software metaphors. I'm staring at her face. She's so fun and loving. Blazing cannabis, wondering about money. She comes up with a plan to make cash with a laugh. But to me, she sounds real crazy and super bad. Life deals a new set of cards. Then you make it work. It's never a bad day when you work with effort. Gratitude helps with the workday, so the workday goes fast till it's done. She always reminds me to take the steps to have fun. Replacing human labor without warning you. Robotic assembly creeps through America. If robots were public servants, it would be a great day. It takes economic leaders showing the way. She is a beautiful woman who grew up poor, knowing science and math, having vision to soar, using communication, able and willing. She rises and levels up, breaking through glass ceilings. I play to win even if I ain't playing cards. I have to give her the chance to test out her smarts. Using math as a tool, she multiplies earnings, creating a percentage for retirement dreams. She takes her grandfather's wisdom to the max state, applying herself as her next step calculates. Even though I bite my tongue when she gets really mad, still to me, she sounds real crazy and super bad. All right, let's see. I got more. All right. She always flips your own words like hot tortillas, making the earth part of her sassy pandilla, playing with your concepts to break all the nonsense, add and subtract your metaphors till you make sense. She breaks down the game to cleanse it permanently. Her burgundy glasses make her abundantly, kicking it to the baseline beat using wordplay. I live with her and it's gracious when we lay, playing for keeps, though some say she doesn't belong. She rocked every open mic with a soothing song, a freedom shepherd under lightning and thunder, the open mic airbender slaying the hunter. Rich folk movie scripts sell out poor people daily, supporting class warfare even on the babies. But she dreamed of revolt to free them from TB. Her images make ghetto smiles bright and easy. Even berserk soldiers sweat their brows like saunas. She's clowning like she's the Joker's baby's mama. Revolutionary, chrome gun, Adelitas. Every shot not be wasted because it's helping us. She practiced freedom movements to get good at it, changing her outfit to honor the sun goddess, eating wild edibles from the green wilderness, walking barefoot over rocks to grow foot callus. She multiplies her earnings by hustling her words, revolutionizing the movement with a swerve, telling stories of the golden fleas in the breeze. People pay for that when it's off the memory. She rocks dual chrome pistolas to watch this man's back, blasting those who want to burn down the village shacks. And her knife throwing skills scare off the evil fiends, trapping them while they're creeping like it ain't no thing.
I think you got a fan in the chat, and they're asking if you could please hold that beautiful book up once again.
All
Maybe
right.
tell them a story about how the cover came to be. Oh man, he's on a cell phone. Doe. It's been a nice little experiment we're having here. Give it a moment. He'll come back. Because we have time. Could you text him and find out if he's all right? You know, this is a good segue now. Oh my gosh, I'm probably gonna start crying. Whoo, sorry. Togo Eisen-Martin just came to. Oh my God, I'm sorry. It's just, Tango, it is such a huge honor to have you here, and I can't imagine traffic was kind to you on the way. But Tango, I tell him that when I read Tango's poetry, it gives my soul animo. It gives me animus to continue in the revolutionary work. And he's just an amazing, amazing human being, a wonderful teacher, and you're in for a real treat. So we're gonna have him pop in, do his whatever he wants to do, because he's Tango, and then we'll wait for Misa to come back in and tell the story about the book and whatnot. and then Eric will close us out. Here you go, Hermano. You got the mic? All right. You're welcome to stand up, sit down, however you feel comfortable.
Hello. You can tell by my tires that not everybody who's driven with me is still alive. Also that I like my drinks neat bottled and in a bus stop. Also that we drown in precinct paper, department store floor plans and applications to the moon. We can change the color of our snot from gifted to heart attack, tell you about ashes, but where are these angels coming from, smelling like the cigarette that fails? And why is the man on the safe side, these headlights freezing up? You got nothing to say at my funeral, I'll speak on your behalf. Heroin in my smile. Mountain native flatland robbery among some things on my mind. The last store run in the name of shared afterlife. Friday to the filter, I'm a tall tale on earth. But here's to that angel that never appeared to America. In the night of dog paddle and a batch of hangovers looking for a home. You know, a lot wouldn't have lived this long. That's my humor when fences speak. On a pair of rambling dice that got unique tempers and young souls that say shut up about our city. Here title months crash over a coast, why lie? The streets teeth are in pieces. There's reservoir art on the faces of stragglers. There's sad news from back home that means we have to grow up on his behalf. Stumble back to a car full of last stand. The truth is stale, but still liquor. Mission Street would be proud of me. I'm a mural man. Almost organized. Remember when my lungs would wake up last, walking all morning if it was worth it. Man, I'm 3 decades homeless. And reservoir art is all I ever see. And I'm 2,000 miles from my first fight. Maybe no one really survived. Maybe I wrote my first poem for no reason. Guided by teeth goes this country. And there's a cow's mouth on the flag. A peculiar notepad holds street life dear, but the writer's not here. He's somewhere talking to tombstones about the good old days. Or splashing reborn water on his latest face, or wondering how his old gun is doing in the afterlife. Wondering how much death trap is in those gas station houses. It got to be $1 million a day on this concrete island. New engine in the moon, why it never goes down. I mean, 72 straight hours of night, at least according to everyone's posture around here. 8:30 in the morning is really 30 minutes of closing. The city shuts down for a sleepy rat race. Elevator shoe shuffle to the nearest heaven. Laugh with rats the whole way up. There's scabs everywhere in puddles of city. In concentrated schools and TV-lit warm rooms, the light reveals military fatigue when it hits just right on the ties that are wrapped around the necks of lazy white guys. Empire is too easy, baby. Chant at the walls off some if you feel like it. Best way for a target to move is shooting back. Running for a tree line made of freeways. Wisdom says against a war machine on Tuesday, you stand no chance, but may we be the last poor people to play a safe cow's mouth on the flag. The politician raises his hand, and the crowd shows their teeth. An oligarch raises his hand, little kids not safe outside. You all high depressing comrades and function. 15 minutes of closing and the city has survived another black rebellion. We just paying dues by trash fires, not just anybody can say. Hey, don't you love how deadly things whisper in a moment and people kill like feathers fall while everybody's screaming inside? The writer knows that death is not a matter of dignity, rather humor. In a house that smells like roach races, nuclear percentages on torn stoves. I mean, here life never was, just lazy matches and manic inhumanity, hands rushing away from life towards stoves. What we doing here? Surviving for no reason in particular, because nobody gone far today. Nobody go far tomorrow. Trust me, hell in heaven cannot count. Strange gardens where secondhand clothes play. And concrete wishes to be human so that it could be accountable. Where they find you drenched, and drains wish to be human so that they could be worthy arms for you to die in. They greet them all, grandson. Prepare for the day when every child is common. Don't say we ghosts didn't write you a poem. Don't say we didn't dig your life. Remember the shotgun by the co-rack that everybody in the house knows how to use? Remember the tightrope made of needles for walking in between driveways and man-made best friends? Go ahead, grandson, tune the street again. Never mind, this country kills musicians first. Broken neck, nice scarred neck life. If these walls could write lyrics, they say, what's your angle, Angel Eyes? 30 to 50 rounds pass by on a street with no daughters. This street has no sons. Just young prisoners of war in a racist city that means to make capital. And we know so much. We know it all. We were stood against walls. Who's on the third cross around here? Cow's mouth, salivating over the street. And that is the story of why we aim at teeth. You know, all street life to a certain extent starts fear. Sometimes with a spiritual memory even. Pre-down soul clap, your father dying even. Maybe I've pushed the city too far. My sensitivities to landfill districting and minstrel whistles, white supremacist graffiti on westbound rail guards all overcome and reauthored. Reauthored by revolutionary violence that chose its own protagonist, a muted stage of genius. The garbage is growing voices. Condensed Marxism, for warrior depressives, underpasses in their pockets because they just might be deities, a decent bid on the Panther name, a merciful Marxism. Disquieted home life, a metaphor for relaxing next to a person who is relaxing next to a gun. I stare at my father for a few seconds, then return to my upbringing, return to the souls of Ohio black folk. A revolution, Dan, they're pagan at this point. You know what the clown wants? The respect of the ant. Wants to interpret pain only. Wants to pull a 38 out of a begging bowl. Wants me to hurt my hand on this pen. I'm not tired of these rooms, just tired of the world to give them a relativity. My only change of clothes prosecuted, the government finally learned how to write poems, shootouts that briefly align, that make up a parable of parables like white bodies are paid well, or do white men even have leaders, or all white people white men, or rap pictures a river. Can almost taste the racial divide, can almost roll a family member's head into a city hall legislative chamber, knows who in this good book will fly. I mean, all I do is practice, Lord. Decided not to talk out of anger ever again. Met my wife at the same time I met new audience members for our pain. We passed each other cigarettes and watched cops win. A city gone uniquely linear, Harlem of the West, do a true universe. I'll always remember you in fancy clothes, my wife said. So here I sit, twisting in silk ideation. Rifle made of postbellum targets made of an honest language. This San Francisco poetry is how God knows that it's me whining. Riding among the lesser respected wolves, lesser observed militarization, Dixie list prison bookkeeping. I mean, the California Great Coast are coming. This mob gossip and bourgeois debt collection is tempting to change professions mid-poem. In the Chicago briefing, the white sergeant saying blank slate for all of us after this black organizer is dead. Stand academics toasting $2 wine at the tank parade. They have nothing, Lord, just nuclear cobblestones, gun line athleticism, and the last of the inherited asthma. Children giving white dolls to play with and fear. Facial expressions borrowed from rich people's shoestrings. I can hear hate and teach hate. They're called tools by people names and name people dead to themselves. No one getting naturalized except federal agents soon, carving the equator in the throat soon. I'm sorry to make you relive all this, Lord, all this pre-dime monarchy friends putting up politician posters and snorting them at the pace. Mental script shelling to the walls by their elders. My children sharpening quarters on the city's edge. For these audiences, I project myself into a ghost-like state. For these gangsters, I do the same. Every now and then, take a nervous look east. Sleep becomes Christ. Sleep starts growing a racial identity. Do you ever spiral, Lord? Has the gang age betrayed us? Be patient with my poems, Lord. So much pain, disappoint, the crown. I mean, it has to be if race traders come with it, Lord. Is that my revolver in your hand? You know, better presence than these if you're on the cages. Have called us holy slaves, filled the school libraries with cop documentaries. Baby, I don't have money for food. Shit, I don't have a present moment at all. I go to the railroad tracks and follow them to the station of my enemies. A cobalt-toothed man pitches pennies at my mugshot negative. All over the United States, there are toddlers in the rock. I see why everyone out here got in the big cosmic basket and why blood agreements mean a lot and why I get shot back at. I understand the psycho-spiritual refusal to write white history or take the glass freeway. White skin tattooed on my right forearm, ricochet sewers near where I collapsed into a rat-infested manhood. My new existence is living graffiti in a kitchen with a lot of gun cylinders to hack up. House of God in part, no cops in part, my body brings down to Christmas. The new bullets pray over blankets made from the old bullets, pray over the 28th hour's next duty mark. Extrajudicial Confederate statue restoration, the waistband before the next protest poster. Hey, by the way, time is not an illusion, Your Honor. I will save your deaths for last. You're a witty, Your Honor. You're moving money again, Your Honor. It's only raining one thing. Non-white cops and prison guard shadows reminded me of spoiled milk floating on an oil spill. A neighborhood making a lot of fuss over its demise. A new lake for a Black Panther party. Malcolm X's ballroom jacket slung over my son's shoulder. The figment of village. A new news to a new white preacher. All in an abstract painting of a president. Brought slavery some time, didn't he? Lieutenants and screeches of military boats and election Tuesday cars. A cold-blooded study in Lagos proof that some white people have actually found the nooses. Their sundown couples made their vows of love over opaque peach plastic and Bodaks and audiences. The Negro every second is definitely my favorite law of science. Found the news clippings of primitive Methodists, my arm chains imperialisms, simple policing versus structural frenzies, elementary school script versus the wider white spectrums, all is bleeding in the challenge of watching civilians think. Terrible rituals they have around the corner, they let their elders beg for public mercy. I'm gonna go ahead and sharpen these kids' heads in the arrows myself and see how much gravy spills out of family crest. Modern fans of war with their t-shirt poems and t-shirt guilt and Me having on the cheapest pair of shoes on the bus, I had no choice but to read the city walls for signs of my life. You know, these little societies wander together like hopeful drops of a virus. Citizen testaments bent on offering me a nation of breadwinners to hold me back like it's a Brinks. I wrinkle the concrete sometimes like flesh. My Martin Luther King permanence. Turn away from a podium into the reeds like God is a dangerous twin. Black August to the mountaintop balcony on my bedroom floor. You know they steal you from the earth itself and suspend you in your broken neck from their foolish euphoria. From the loyalty after their great superstition, loyalty after their growing reform. I returned to my mother completely disrespected. For feeling the heat off of purgatory, they killed poets like me. Walked me away from my poems, never to be heard from again. In this final industrial complex, where bloodlines picked through a sporting spiritual death of your devil at least half made. Please become a pretty word. I'm reading a lynch mob shoestrings like they were tea leaves. Teaching you how to write about cities. It's the 25th century in the mirror, people. Tyranny against your chump change. You're a chump to be mocked even with a gun in your car. A cubit of needlework spelled tune for the proletariat, the relapse ministry. Sound to people curled up in a fetal position next to a diamond dime. Just another service day of theatrics of tea-house fascism. And a bouquet of surveillance cameras. And the poverty of God. New blue eyes, corpses of war, a newly presidency, one big shiny corny fiasco, animated capitalism, another non-literal voice, killing this white freedom. The deification of hyphens, medicine breeding picture shows, great protesters in LA, guests of our ink, job kicking wheels in the graveyard, DC lit like a star train, comparing faces, despite CIA guideposts, despite non-African past and futures, a metaphorical benevolent improvising king, like a radio place type featuring Shango himself, a real man sweeps the land of racism. Man, I return to the ground. Man, I make progress with the gun. On Mother Emmanuel, they put on music that evening. A swinging type body language for you to drink with fermented $5 bills. For your body language, some applause. My past stomach lining. Neither a good thing nor a bad thing, like being psychic on the way to a lethal injection. It'll sit you down with Lady Day. Lady Day leading you to surrender their souls to Africa too soon. Potty thought floating in the cup of water, she saved me. Accessing my stomach, accessing the love of the American lynch. Coasters wouldn't avalanche to the wrist. Our mother Emmanuel avalanche to the sharp keys. Pain, or the day you make with pain. A piano makes sense for them. Laying hands on the wheel gradually. Addressing the bending necks on the streets of the north. Travel sailing in pain, repeating pain in the north. 10 trigger fingers on that piano if harmony would have me. Putting 100 fights on every direction off of the Lady Day. Leaning on trees again, recruiting the countryside itself. Laying plan on this lightning. Make your pause the corner pocket of me. I agree with the blues itself. America may claim my dead body, but will never include me. The poem, killing without killing, never this little painting of your language, not be a meaning for mentioning, a crows passing, feeling good by the afternoon. The end.
You see why he is a poet laureate of San Francisco. Amazing, amazing. Listen, that was emotional. Misael, sorry, you're back, hermano. You want to finish up with one more? Talk about the cover of your book real quick. Misa, you're muted, brother. Let me pin you so people can see you.
Hi. Yeah, I have phone difficulties, but did someone ask me to share the book cover?
The cover, yeah.
All right. So, well, I hopefully it looks cool right there.
It's called My Spoken Word Wife Playing for Keeps.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Did you want to do another poem?
Sure, I'll read one more poem.
Did you do the anchor poem? Did you do My Spoken Word Wife?
No,
Can I make a request? You know,
sure.
I love that poem.
All right, I'll read that poem. The multiverse or the first one?
Ooh, I love them both. Heck, do them both.
Okay. Well, all right. She's a beautiful brown petite woman, bringing out my humor and wit full of wisdom. I'm speaking about the poetic body of goddess. She rules my heart and brings out loving comments. I'm inspired by her soulful, loving nature, pleasing her with words to spell out raw danger. And writing about her bright world is easy. Every word filled with bright light, bringing her home to me. Yet sometimes the world spins like an oldie record, and she's a chola singing through stormy weather. I never surrender to her imperfections. I'm surrendering to her will as a blessing. I penetrate the world with an infinite look. She purposely looks like a dork with a book, while I'm planting a tree in every neighborhood. making it up to nature for the paper she took. Her world was like a still, soft, and sweet melody, and like a detective, I solve a mystery. I'm on the edge of discovering my real gifts, seeing my destiny without the crucifix. I hold her hand and I get more respect, forever feeling like this book is my mistress. I see her pain was never meant to be so, but like the river, she is owning her true flow. She's the best hand I ever had, so place your best bet. Playing my hand like every star depends on it. Her smoke protects me from evil grins, blowing smoke as I flip the wild aces to win. Living on the edge makes me dangerous, as they give me awards for making bold statements. I celebrate her style at LA open mics with this dedication to my spoken word wife. All right, so that's the first poem. That's how I begin the poetry book. And I end this book with this, so this is a journey about psychosis too, so I'm gonna read this and just, the first poet that was reading, she talked about aliens. She had the question of aliens and all these conspiracies, right? But here in my side of town, with the delusions, hallucinations, or the schizophrenia, the psychosis, all of this stuff, the energies that I'm dealing with, I come up with this type of poetry. I was asked to take flight over the galaxy, using psychedelic means to kiss my lady. I understood the galactic empress winked fine every time I spat metaphors and cold space rhymes. She announced to me that we were always married, that she sent me to Earth to cleanse and be daring, that she sent me to Earth to win and play for keeps, to be a legend and a dangerous MC. But I must remain a resident on the planet, fighting for social justice, being a gambit. She says she's one of the ones engaged in my truest dreams, unwinding my memories throughout the whole scene. My spoken word wife came to me in a night's dream. She came from another dimension, clearing scenes, telling me to wordplay and play for keeps all day. We're separated by reality and blue haze. She says she's always been my lovely spoken word wife. She's the galactic empress that purifies life. She exists in a different light reality. She channels through women that are so sweet to me. In a parallel universe reality, she sends me messages telepathically, igniting her sweet fates in the night sky for me. Her lips are made with stars and clouds to be unique. She can take over a woman and speak through her, sending messages surprising with experienced words, giving me cues to believe in the feminine, serving and protecting, defending Earth's children. She smiles through the stars and speaks her poetic verse. All these women form the spoken word wife multiverse. I never ride alone. I'm always blessed with love. To look up at the night, seeing her sparkling above. Yo, yeah. So my time up?
Well, we're at we got about an hour left, but Eric has to perform yet, and we do want to. I want there to be a good discussion about the politics and poetry, and what is the role of the culture worker in creating social change. But there was a request for you to talk about, and two, I love the story about how the cover came to be with Halo, and how he learned how to tattoo in prison. I wondered if you could talk a little bit more about it, and also the significance of the position of the figures on it.
Yeah. So my homeboy Halo, when we were like little kids, he got caught up for a shooting, and he went to jail for over 15 years. And while he was in jail, before he went to jail, he had a daughter with special needs. So he was trying to figure out a way to just not be all adrenaline driven. And he said that he started drawing, copying images from newspapers and trying to regurgitate it through the hand skill. And then he basically learned how to draw this beautiful, he loves drawing birds. He started drawing birds because his daughter loves birds. And he started working on the birds, and he got really good at it. Next thing you know, people are asking him to draw tattoos on other inmates, and he got really good. And when he got out, he called me up, and I had a tear. I had a tear come out my eye. Like, damn, homie, you're free. And like, when's the last time I saw you? We were like 17. He was 16. And I told him, I'm working on this book, and I would like for you to if you could bless me with an image, you know. So he told me, well, what do you want? You know, and I told him I told him, oh, you know what? I want the name of the hood where we grew up. I want the city of LA, the moon, the stars, and I want a couple. And he drew like a homie kicking it right there. And I said, hey, hold up, homie. Can you erase the Sancho from the image? And he was like, yeah, he started laughing. And I was like, all right, cool. And then it was pretty cool, you know, like he came up with this drawing and he eventually started a tattoo business. He's out there in Pacoima, California, and he's doing pretty good for himself, taking care of his baby girl and going to school now. He's enrolled in the art school. And I think he's having the best time ever in life. So that's a little bit about Halo. I'm very proud of him. I wrote a poem about him. It's gonna be my new book, My Dream Catcher in the Rye. And it's pretty cool. Now, as far as what were the other questions that you wanted to ask?
Very good. But you forgot one of the best parts, bro. Me and you were X-Men fans, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I almost forget. So I kick Halo down a picture of Gambit and Rogue from X. There's a nice picture where it's almost like this. It's almost like this, but I said, hey, homie, like while I want you to draw all of these items, can you like go off this picture? And he said, for sure. And after I talked to him, while he told me like, all right, Misael, shut up, just let me do my thing, you know, like I need like stop telling me how to do it. Like, so he crumbled up the first drawing and he hits me up 2 days later. He said, I got it. I like send it over. And that was and that's how that happened, you know.
It's beautiful. Yeah. All right, Misa. Thank you, my friend, my brother. We're gonna continue on. That was lovely. Thank you. We'll give you more from each other. Eric, are you ready, my comrade? You ready to rock?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm ready.
All right. You were born ready.
Yeah.
Or should I be excited? Said I was ready. I was born ready, Jesus.
And this first poem is from my newest manuscript called Singing Songs for the Dead. And this one is titled Winning. And I also want to thank Damiana for our performance of To Balenciaga earlier. You know, I adore you too. Thank you. But yes, this is Winning. America, I think we're winning now. And that's probably why I wake up with my heart pounding and a sense that there are no graves for us here on earth. There is only an ocean of blood for us to swim through until it starts to feel like home, because war has always been our home here. These are all short. This is School in America. The young gather for school. No breakfast, no milk, just cold dreaming of diamonds. No vegetables, just a not so new righteous science of starvation. This noxious, delirious business whispers to the world that the sun is out in the tawdry, sedentary bedrooms of the rich.
A lot of love out here, Eric. You just can't see it.
Oh, thank you.
They're snapping their fingers.
This one is Bodies of Light. Too much national pride is served up wrong by predators. It's used to skewer the people, shush their quaking hunger, give them a ticket to a charred church, and lead the way to rancid hell, where their bodies of light decompose. This one is The Dead Eat. Dangerous business, this frantic money disease, leads the way to all repulsive work. Small nervous heart kills futures minute by minute. This fight leaves you mad, raw, beat, always looking for your next screwed up heaven. Sometimes it feels like the dead eat before you do.
Mm-hmm.
Brick walls. I've seen so many young people sitting against a brick wall, backpacks with holes, shoes with soles flopping, and desperate eyes searching. There's no home in sight, only wordless passerby, passengers on the train to a world without understanding. Just more brick walls and more young people to bleed in with the bricks. Let's see. I'll do this one too. This is called Crash, Boom, Smash. It's about robots doing everything, basically. Lungs force out an acidic aria as the people melt beneath the deafening hot noise of the machines. Someday there won't be people here anymore. The factory floor will be one robot standing next to another, all heavy metal multiplying and speaking in the language of crash, boom, smash, a cacophony of artificial voices smashing into the night. No rest will be taken. No sleep will be needed. No stopping to eat or even drink some oil. They'll pound out whatever the CEOs want, and unless we take control, they'll do it all till the universe fades out amidst the thunder and the hushed, polluted erosion of life.
That's beautiful.
This one was a poem I wrote for former Chicago mayoral candidate Paul Vallis and his son, Officer Gus Vallis. It's called Return to Full Duty. Officer Vallis was found not to have violated policy and returned to full duty. But before that, he and two of his blue brothers murdered a man who was running away. Kevin Donald Johnson Jr. was wanted for breaking parole. Like Jean Valjean, did he steal a loaf of bread? Was Officer Vallis just serving the crown like Javert when he murdered Kevin that night? Officer Vallis shouted, "Get down, boy," at a 28-year-old man, far from a boy, but not to Officer Vallis, who saw brown skin and instantly thought, boy. He saw a black man running for his life, and all he could think was, boy. Officer Vallis was found not to have violated policy and returned to full duty. Officer Vallis's father is a lifelong Democrat and wannabe mayor of Chicago, which I suppose should tell you something about the Democratic Party and the position of mayor of Chicago.
And I can't say it. I'm at work. I can't say it. That was a great poem, Eric.
I'll just do a few more short ones because I think I have more time, right? Yeah.
You do.
Okay, this is a councilman's solution to homelessness. He said, "We'll send them out to the desert. We'll build them a camp and let them rip each other's flesh from their bones. Cacti do not provide much. There's no food or medicine to be found out in coarse grains of sand, but that didn't bother him. Once you get rid of them, you'll never have to look at them again. This is the let them kill themselves approach to housing. The American dream is to bleed the poor and the sick. Who gave this man power? people who love their neighbors by dreaming up ways to get rid of them. This is Singing Songs for the Dead, the title poem. Sing songs about what it's like to be alive. Sing songs about the fall of America. When the bombs fall somewhere else, you'll still wake up in your bed, but someday they'll fall here. That's the goal of those in control. If ash is blown across your own landscape, you may find that the bones provide all the meat you can afford. But you keep singing anyway. This land was made for you and me. We pray the dead will rise again, or maybe they never died at all. Sometimes immortality is a good lie to tell ourselves, isn't it?
Hey, Eric, we
Yep.
got a request from Comrade Lou that he wants you to read the Vodka on Election Night poem.
Oh,
And Honeybees
let's
for Peace. Oh, that's a good one. I love that one.
well, let me get my I
Whatever's
gotta
easy
get
for you,
that
man.
book really fast.
No worries. Whatever's easy for you, or And people who are in the Zoom or even here, if you wanna, when the time comes in a few more minutes, if you wanna chat your question or on mic, or if you wanna, take the mic or write the question, I'd be happy to speak it for you.
I will be able to fulfill Lou's request because I got the book right here.
Beautiful.
And one of my books is free on moriapoetry.com. That's MORIA poetry.com. And just go to the Lokafo Chaps section. The Lokafo chapbook collection was it was supposed to be 100 books published for each day of Donald Trump's first 100 days in office. And I think he ended up publishing more than 100, but my book was titled Bees Against the War. And this is Vodka on November 8th, 2016 for my comrade Lou Rosenbaum. I drank cheap vodka with a communist poet as we watched the returns roll on in. I drank cheap vodka that looked Russian, but was probably distilled in Wisconsin. I am not sure if my vodka ever met any Russian lawyers in back rooms looking for emails. I am not sure if communist poet Lou has ever met any Russian lawyers. But on the night of the election, I hung out with Lou and we watched capitalism's latest Caesar take his crown. I looked at Lou, picked up the bottle and said, "I think it's time for a drink, Lou." The poet agreed, and we each did a few shots. And you had requested bees, right, Jesus? So
Yeah,
I'll do.
your sister, your poet sister requested it. Damiana requested it. I love all your work. I love your funny anti-Trump poems too. They're hilarious.
Bees. Lead in Flint water, poison in Syrian air, cancer in the dirt, cancer on the airwaves, tumors in the White House. Daily absurdity, too much for a poet to keep up with. So I just write these words and pray for the bees to survive. What will the flowers do when the buzzing stops?
Damn, that's beautiful.
And I'll just do one more poem for you. So I had planned to do it. This is, and the people bowed and prayed.
Mm.
One by one, the people embraced fascism. They waved their flags for it. They made up stories to strengthen it. They kneeled in prayer before their God and begged for it. When it became their total reality, they still believed this was the way. They kicked those they saw crawling in the streets begging for water, even after they themselves fell to their hands and knees. It was so damn easy to control them. Just give them an imagined enemy to rally against and tell them you are the only one who can save them from the other. Then tell them the chains they now wear aren't even really there. After all, oppression is just a hoax created by those who want to oppress you. At least that's what the fascists want us to believe. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. And I tell you, that is a very, very timely poem. So we're going to open up to discussion and also obviously questions. I'm going to pin everybody. How to do that? Spotlight. I can do this. Let me see. No, hold on. I'm gonna do. Oh man, I haven't done this in a minute, so I apologize. But does anybody have any questions while I figure this out? Aye, there we go. Misael, you also will be spotlighted. So maybe we can start talking about. No, man, students, my students. Oh, go ahead. You want the mic?
Hi, my name is Samuel Gonzalez, and this is a question for any of the assembled poets. To borrow a phrase, I was curious if you believe that the moral arc of the universe trends upwards, and if so, or if not, what the role of a poet is in relation to that arc.
Did you get that? Anybody need a repeat?
I think I wonder who which one of us said that poetry is a tax on all the political lies. Who was that? Oh, that was Misael. Okay. So I think he might have something to say, but I'm sure Tongo as well. But I just wanted to I think that was probably part of your answer, or just one of his lines in the poem. But do you have any thoughts? Or do you want Misael? Do you want to take that one?
Oh, what I believe the question was about is if there's some kind of connection between a hierarchy and the poet. That's how I understood it, and I feel like there's definitely a connection between me and my muses, and I feel like my situation as far as schizophrenia, like I write it in my introduction of my book, that I basically take the words that I hear as audio. Not necessarily the voices don't sound like my voice, but I take the rhymes, and I've talked to Jesus about this. I feel like very what is that word, like I feel like a fraud, like, because these are not my words, even though they're in my head and I'm writing it down. It feels like it's coming from another source, and my job is just to write it down and figure out how to make it available for people, and that's what keeps me sane. That's what keeps me cool, and I feel that's the protection I get from doing the type of work that I get. So to answer your question, I would say yes, it is that way, with that respect. Thank you.
I'm sorry. I don't know. Go ahead.
Yeah, I definitely believe that the the moral arc of the universe heads in a groovy direction or has a groovy trajectory. In that I think the actual human nature is one of a kind of an inherent selflessness, an inherent interconnectivity, and that a lot of the consciousness of, counter-revolutionary, imperialist consciousness, colonial consciousness, actually can only root but so deep into your psyche because it is unnatural. So once it only whereas our internalization of repression requires constant repression, requires daily coercion, daily experiences of violence, right? To keep you walling yourself into this kind of individualism. All it takes is just a little sliver of daylight, a sliver or just a brief opportunity to get in tune with your true self. And there's no turning back. I was in Venezuela, right, when the opposition was about to launch these pretty heavy duty campaigns that on the one end would kind of like curiosities of protest, but on the other end they were actually like whacking Chavistas, And so coming out the airport, I was talking to the cab driver, because it was all these grumblings. And it was like, well, what's gonna happen here? Is it gonna be some kind of civil war, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, I don't care. Like, I'm not going back. We're not going back to slavery. You know what I mean? So, and now where does a poet enter, I think, on both or on a few kind of, or is an intervention in a few directions for those who find themselves sinking into this kind of like counter-revolutionary consciousness, enters the poet as kind of like, to keep you from plunging but too far, or show you a little bit, again, of, you can't snap out of this. Or on the other side, like, a more gives you some analysis to brush up against that is delivered outside of kind of paradigms of domination, because there's other kinds of, writing and making statements and investigation that can be a little bit more competitive or a little bit more beholden to structures of power, but where poetry kind of comes is this nice little like, almost gaseous, you know, the kind of gaseous theses, where it doesn't really matter who is delivering it or who, that it's just kind of here for you to access, and does a wonderful job at, strengthening people's politicization. So, yes, and yes, and yes, and yes. You know what I'm saying?
Anybody in the chat? I know we got Michael Ward here, who's the director of the Culture Center in San Francisco. Michael, is that also a poet? And also Lou Rosenbaum and others. If you want to speak or chat to it, or if you have a question.
Oh, I was going to speak too. Hey, Sue.
Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, I was originally I was sitting here thinking, I'm gonna say no, the universe doesn't. But
hey, repeat that again.
yes.
I messed up the tech a little bit. Roll back a little bit, like 5 seconds. I apologize.
As I was sitting here after hearing that question, I was like, I'll be the one who says no, that the moral arc of the universe doesn't bend upwards. But I guess I will say yes, that it does to some degree. But as Tonga was talking about that sliver of light, the sliver of hope, that's poetry pushing the moral arc of the universe towards justice. Because if we just all sat around and said, oh, well, eventually there will be justice because we're going to wait around for the universe to deliver it and whatever. But no, you have to push it. Somebody has to be there pushing it in the right direction. That's got to be us. Among humanity has to keep pushing it towards that, because we could easily let ourselves slide into, as is clear from our daily, reality here in America, things tend to slide pretty far downward, but the poet needs to be there to push.
Beautiful, very well said. Anybody else? Maybe Damiana, if you could speak to, because I know in the bio you mentioned that you work with healthcare and women's rights. I don't know if you can speak to how that activism informs your poetry and vice versa.
Absolutely. So I, firmly believe that every baby deserves an equal welcome. And as a result, I have done a lot of doula work, both in the US, but also abroad. And I find that for me, I think that there's always going to be, the push of, needing to make a buck, right? And needing to have systems that are constantly, generating wealth and, maximizing profits and things like that. And it really almost pushes against the humanistic projects of medicine, which I think is poetry, right? Like, I think that there's a lot of physician poets who believe that, their words are really what's, keeping the ritual, the sacredness, the touch, right? The non-technological aspects of medicine, at bay, so to speak, because it's not that they are one versus the other, but really that they need to work together. And so when we think about, this kind of manifestation of like more, whether it's like more technology or like more expensive, like cost going up, and we think about what is actually enough and what actually gives people a sense of healing. It's actually so simple, and it's like less is more, in my opinion. It's sitting next to them and hearing them and saying, I'm going to hold your hand when you're going through something painful. And so that doesn't cost money, and yet it's actually very hard to get in America, I think. And so when you think about what, I think that really is what informs a lot of my work. I have a whole collection about matrescence, which is like the becoming of a mother, that I think might inform my second poetry collection. I think it's going to be called Baby Universes, and it's all about kind of negotiating the rights of an infant, the rights of a mother, the rights of of humanity to have their essential needs, and really argue for the humanistic projects of medicine, which I think includes poetry for sure. But to the earlier point of like what poetry is, poetry, in my opinion, totally kind of stands up against kind of like what Eric was saying, pushing almost the boundaries of what is accepted in our society. And it's almost sometimes even a little hypocritical, because we can, as poets, we enable ourselves and allow ourselves to be radical and say whatever we feel, but really it's actually coming up from a consciousness that Tongan was kind of talking about. And so it is exactly as Misael said, that it is kind of the tax that society has to pay for their lies and for the oppression, or what you say, oppression that that we experience. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Lou, go ahead. And make sure you unmute.
Yeah. I think this is a really interesting conversation, and I want to first of all, I wanted to riff off of the conversation about birth, to recognize that birth is both a beautiful and difficult and painful thing. And as a friend of mine recently pointed out, it shows that both beauty and pain can exist together in the same space. And it becomes a metaphor for revolution as well, because we can't ignore the painful, dangerous, bloody side of it at the same time as recognizing the really essential nature of its transformation according to this moral arc that we're talking about, the moral arc that bends toward justice. So going to what Eric and Tongo were talking about, my thinking is this, and this is really informed a lot, just really recently with a number of conversations I've had. So none of this is original thought. Of course, none of us have, thoughts that are totally original. We all stand on the shoulders of giants, right? But the thinking that I'm coming to embrace is that the arts are a kind of symphony. And each of the arts is kind of a section in the orchestra, maybe the woodwinds, the drums, the horns, whatever. Each of the arts is a section in that orchestra. And if they are playing together with a score that's leading in that direction toward bending toward justice, we're going to get there. But it requires that each of the sections and each of the players, the poetry, whatever, each of it really approaches this in a conscious thinking manner of where we're going and how we're going to get there. And we have different ways of doing that, different methods of doing that, different ideas of the path that we're on. But in some sense, we're all conscious of the fact that we need a society that cooperates rather than is at each other's throats. And I think that's what the arts have to provide in a way that nobody else can. There's no scientist that can do that. They can contribute something, but there's no scientist that can give you the facts and the figures. It's the kind of poetry that we've heard today that lead in that direction. So I'm done.
Thanks, Lou. And then Dolores has a question. She was asking, she says, what was the first motivation for you all to put pen to paper? And what do you all do when your creativity gets blocked? Ooh, that's a great question. I don't know who wants to take that one first.
I'll go ahead and say that for me, if I am told you need to write something, it never gets done. It cannot happen. It cannot happen. I can waste a whole day just not knowing what to say. And I almost feel like being forced to write completely gets rid of my ability to write. Being given a deadline, that definitely stops me from really being creative. And it almost happens for me kind of instantaneously. It's something that comes within, and I feel this like not nervous pent up energy, but it almost feels like regurgitation. And I run to my phone in the notes section and I start writing things down, or I grab a napkin, or I think the last time I wrote a poem, I was at a dinner party, and I literally grabbed a pen and I wrote it on the cloth napkin. Yeah, and I ruined a napkin, but who cares? I took it home. I think that's where, for me, it's always very instantaneous, and it feels like, it's almost coming out of me and then I go back and edit and revise. That isn't to say that it comes out perfectly. but at least the ideas, very like, Eric can attest to this, to Balenciaga, we did it on the table while waiting for Uber. So, I think that when say it's not hard to say it, right? And I think poetry is this writing that doesn't really give you too many rules, right? I think it's like you're allowed to break rules when you write poetry versus when you're writing a journalism article for the Chicago Tribune, or when you're writing an essay for a college paper. And so it feels less restrictive. And I think that's really what gives me the opportunity to kind of put pen to paper. Oh, and yeah, does anybody else have anything to say online, up in the cloud?
I'll go after her. So I feel like it's it's an interesting question. What makes you do something that initiates a path of the poet? That's what I understood it as. Like, what makes you put pen to pad? And I feel like when I was a 16-year-old, what made me want to write was my friend got shot, and he got killed. And so I went home, and about a week later, I just wrote down, like, I just wrote my first rap. I felt like I needed to say something, and I wrote it on a notebook. And I was trying it out. I was just trying it out. I was like at a retail shop, and I was just trying on the clothes. I was like, oh, let me figure out how this feels like. And I didn't run with it, but I kept doing it, and I tried to recite it to my friends. But I felt like I didn't have any I didn't know how to do it. I know our previous guest, she said that there are no rules, but here I am, not knowing if rules exist, but like I know there's a way to do it. But the way I was doing it was just fine, according to her. But to me, I needed a rhythm and structure, because what I was writing, I was trying to write rap, and that needed some type of gauge to direct the message and so to speak. So I feel like I feel like if I would have known the rules earlier, I'd have been in a different position, like as far as expression. Maybe I would have been more into, like, hitting stages up and rhyming with music. But since it came a little later in life, I explored poetry. And not to say that rap isn't poetry, but I see it as the same now. And I come back to the conclusion, full circle, that it's basically the same thing. However, I do feel like whatever pushed me to press the pen had to do with dealing with things that I didn't understand. I don't understand why people die, and so I just had to say something, express something. I felt like I needed to feel my home again, because wherever I was kicking, it didn't feel like home anymore. This doesn't feel like a home when people are getting shot, your friends are getting killed. So I ran home and I started writing, and I felt like I discovered that, hey, you know what? I think I would like this path. I think I would enjoy it. So part of it is just doing it, trying it out. The second part is just being consistent with it. And the third part is just sharing it with others and getting feedback. And I think that's essentially what the starter kit in my perspective. Thank you.
Uh, uh, yeah, I was just saying, if anybody else up there want to take it, I think, just like most things, there are like actually a few biographies to whatever it is you do. And, you know, especially with like writing, you get different kind of reincarnations, you know, where you start and the places you go can almost be like, you know, operating from a different mind. I mean, just like life, you know what I'm saying? And just like you go through different phases of relating to reality. Similarly, for me, it was a kind of it's almost like I just heard a poem, and then all of a sudden, my mind started just spontaneously coughing little thoughts up or little lines up. Um, but I think, you know, in general, the kind of what might be helpful when it comes to like writer's block or this type of thing is actually to learn how to cooperate with it, because usually it's not that there's nothing there, it's just what's there you're rejecting. And so, but if you deconstruct this kind of this feeling that might be an overwhelming feeling of like dejection, within it is actually energy that you can use. You just got to get away from this kind of, you know, similar to life. You know, we try to put together a personality for ourselves that we think will keep us safe or make us successful. And we take that same quest for security down onto the page, and you want to write, you know, have that voice on the page that is is invincible. And so, but if you really just take your nature, the day in, day out, all the places that you move through, all the personalities you assume, especially internally, and let that play out on the page, you actually, I think, get to way more interesting places and actually make for more invincible writing, because it's writing that's not looking to reinforce yourself. Um, so that's how I would say to deal with it. And you know, and learning to kind of like to not seek euphoria and actually not seek catharsis when writing is also kind of like good for taking another step. Because I think ultimately, you know, the actual journey of writing is really just an opportunity. It's really almost just the fairest spiritual experience you can get down here, you know, because it's like a spiritual, it's just an internal cultivation or internal feedback of where you are that doesn't require some intermediary like a pastor, like some institution is cut out the middle person, you know what I mean, and get right to where like where you are. And so this kind of like, you know, this just a little, you know, you just tweak, if you tweak your orientation to the craft, tweak your orientation to yourself, you know, abandon the preoccupation with fruition of like what you want to become or what you want this poem to achieve, and just sit and learn how to sit second for second in your mind with a kind of like enough clarity to see, you know, to just poke around and explore. um then actually it's actually like infinite. I mean, you know, literally. I mean, word to like you can literally say anything, write anything in a way that other art disciplines, though just as heroic and just as inspiring and just as magical, are actually limited. Because we all see light produce like we whatever we call this color is like we all see the same thing. And we all see this interaction, right? But now, interaction of this and that, this color and that color. But now, in the course of a poem, there is a billion things I can turn this wall into. I can or turn the joining of these walls in light of all kind of context. I could paint recreate these walls to make a point about this institution. I can recreate these walls to make a point about this street, to make a point about Chicago, to make a point about the human journey, to make a point about something in the past, to make a point about something like that. There's a billion ways we can go. So actually, when you can kind of like dissolve this quest to enforce a personal territory and really just open yourself to all these territories that's existing out here, then then craft is really just one big experiment in cooperation. And then fuck it. Where it goes, it goes. And I think people are most interested in like almost like it's like a witnessing. Like I think the most inspiring or impactful artists are those that like we're watching them teach themselves something. We're watching them come to new conclusions. That's what will have us lean in. So it's just kind of like, trust yourself. It's really just the message over and over, and you will actually get more. You will end up with more gravity. You will end up putting a bigger dent in space time, if you just just work with yourself and learn new things about yourself and learn new things about the content you looking at, because it's like a billion, literally. There's an infinite amount of, even if it's just little shades over, even if it's imperceptible to the reader, there's all kind of ways to just move your orientation around looking at a subject and resulting kind of like insight or musical insight, you could say, a poem brings.
Should I answer the question too? I was gonna say one of the things that inspires me the most is that when I joined the League of Revolutionaries for a New America, and I surrounded myself with revolutionaries, many of them, quite a large number of them, poets, and just being around people who are doing the work, kept me from ever finding myself in a deep dark well of writer's block. So it never really happened. Thanks to just being surrounded by people who are doing great things and who are writing great things and hearing it and immersing myself in it. So yeah, if you're feeling stuck, my advice would be to just to immerse yourself in work by others, and you'll come unstuck.
I got one more thing too. Also, just keep going. Like keep right. You like you can, however much time you write a day, you can always double that up, because you're like a good line could be right around the corner. Like really, like in minute 45, like you could write for 45 minutes and it all sucks. And then just minute 46, like that, again, it's so like, think about when you dream. You put all this shit together with no effort. You are quarterbacking second for second landscapes you've never seen, conversations you never had with people you don't know, You know what I mean? All kind of twists and scenarios, you know. So it's just like it's all in there, you know, and it'll be right there for you, you know, just and I'll just say like really it's what is like Octavia. I mean, basically to paraphrase, it's just like but you really can exist beyond talent. You can do more than talent by just sustained practice, you know what I mean? Right. So just keep the pen moving, you know.
You just said something that made me think of just adding this piece. You guys are in Chicago. You guys, everything is all around you. This is one of the best cities in the world in terms of creativity, in terms of meeting people, in terms of the conversations and the things you see. Just yesterday, I was walking by Michigan Avenue and I noticed that there was some written words on, and I'm trying to pull it up right here. Someone had written on the edge of one of the stores, like, and it said meth, cocaine, and a slice of dark chocolate. And I saw that. And it was because I don't believe that like, oh, we're on different timelines or, our subconscious, feels different things. But in terms of like, if you open yourself, kind of like what he was saying, to experiences, you notice things that other people would not. And it's all there for you. It's all there for you. So do that. So really try to do that.
Maybe one more question. We're at 12:14. We have about 6 or 5 minutes left or so. Students, do you have questions or other community members? Lynn, do you have a question? I know you're a fan of tangos. No.
Jesus.
Órale.
You know, something I was thinking of I wrote a poem about writer's block actually. And but in my world, when like I feel like when you're called to sit down with a pen, you have the idea, but all of a sudden that idea vanishes. It disappears, like it's grabbed by an invisible entity and just taken from you. I feel like in my journey, my experience with my whole otherworldly phenomenon, I'm thinking, well, I need to get that thought back. And it's like I have a fight with the invisible, like saying, return that thought to me. But I could only do so much because like Tango said, we're limited. And so I have to ask for support. I have to go ask for support from my ancestor, from the spirit. Mm-hmm. I say, spirit, please return that thought or return that dream. As soon as I wake up, I know I dream, but then all of a sudden it vanishes. And later on, like within 5 minutes, I feel like that, like I start remembering simply because you put the intention out into the universe and said, hey, there's something unjust that just happened. I'm sitting down trying to write. I had just had this thought, but all of a sudden I feel like I got hijacked from my thought. And you gotta make that request, like it goes back to the first question that somebody was saying, like the first question about the arc of the universe. It's like, and it goes back to what Lou was saying, you have to submit the request that you want to navigate this conversation in a certain direction. You have to put in the request to the universe, to the spirit, to God, to whoever you're working with, to demand that this go this way in the interest of and wellness of yourself and others. So I feel like writer's block can also be like a conspiracy, like in my head. Like I feel like there are entities out there that are known to take and feed off your energy, and you get drained because that's energy. Your thought is energy. Your thought is a pulse. Your thought is magnetic, and it attracts certain people, vibrations, and things like that. So whatever you're working with as far as thought is, you must always consider the fact that there are entities out there that don't like that thought. There are people out there that are interested in blocking your thoughts. So it goes into the brujeria and all of that stuff type of world that what if in the matrix of things there is a program that is interested in devouring the poets, their thoughts, devouring the poets' thoughts. And in my world, you know, I feel like the only way to fight with it is to engage the invisible. Like, hey, give me my thought back. See, this is where you get like the people out in Chicago in the street in Skid Row, wherever, they're talking to us, trying to figure out the whole situation. I feel like I have my moments like that, but I feel like now I could just request it, you know, as a writer, as a poet, as a dreamer. I must submit that request, and we all must give the spirit permission to grant our wishes as far as requesting for the world to change to be a better place. We must submit it every day, because there's people submitting their own requests to make it worse, so more profitable. So that's all I wanted to share about that. Fight for your thoughts, fight for your ideas, unblock yourself, and ask the spirit to unblock you.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Misael. Beautiful. All right. Well, one more. Let's see. I think so. She says much respect. Well, since you're both here, this is not a lot, but I wanted to thank you for just being wonderful human beings and being here at Harold Washington and sharing your art and your wisdom. Thank you so much. And thank you, Eric, and thank you, Misael. We're gonna keep hitting it, you know, doing more cultural events, more events. And hopefully you signed on to the list, and we'll come back. I am gonna give away books. It was my bad. I ordered them a little late, but the office is in room 612 if you fill out the form, or if you signed up in the back. I'm just gonna do like a drawing, but I think there's enough for everybody, you know, so hopefully that'll work out that way. But do you have any upcoming events, or maybe where people can follow you on social media? You can put that in the chat, or anybody? I don't always ask. I mean, go ahead.
Follow me on so you can go ahead and follow me at Andonova on Instagram, and which is still developing, like I'm still growing it. And then I do have an event on August 5th. It's about cigarettes and sundresses, and it's a bunch of girls are going to be there. I think Eos Patica is going to be there to read poetry, and I think I'm going to read my In by the Sea, which is really romantic, and it's about remembering and memory. So I think that'll be really great. At Andonova. So everybody whip out your phones. I'll spell it for you. Andonova. There's some poems that I've written on there. Excellent. Thank you, Dr. Estrada. Kami Poet. So COMMIE Poet, POET. Do you have an Instagram?
It's underscore at underscore TONGOGARA underscore. But if you just search and just put TONGO, I'll probably pop up. I have on a nice coat. I'm leaning. It's like a black and white picture I got, and I'm leaned forward with a nice coat on, you know. Yeah, it says good poet on there. It's my bio, you know.
For me is schizoverse, like the schizoverse. My Instagram, I'm on Instagram at schizoverse. I like to post about glitches in the matrix, like ghost stories and all that stuff. I don't know, my entertainment.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Exciting. So it's SCHIVOVERS.
Oh, let me type it up.
Yeah, if you can type it up, well, I'm happy to like say it out loud. And mine is ANDONOVA. So it's like the letter ANDONOVA. Did you have a question? Oh.
and music eventually